Good morning, everyone. Looks like we have a little technical challenge here this morning, so just hang in there and we'll be right with you. Good morning. So sorry for a few technical difficulties as we get started this morning. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show, streaming live right now on E360 TV, our Facebook page, Self-Worth the Missing Link Superstars. I don't have any superstars with me this morning other than myself, and also streaming live on our YouTube channel, Laurie Davis Show Host. My apologies again, just a couple of technical challenges when we first started this morning. However, we are up and running. So today we're going to talk about a few more shades of dysfunction. And we have developed, there's 100 of them and more. So on Mondays, I've kind of chosen to do a solo show so that we can just educate ourselves on dysfunctional behavior. And sometimes things are so natural, or we don't have to even think about it. Some of the behaviors we have or beliefs we hold, that we don't even stop and think that, maybe that's just not a good idea, or that's not working for me, or wow, like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? So a lot of times our behaviors especially might appear to be dysfunctional because things don't work out. That's how you can tell if something's dysfunctional. It's not working. And so if it's not working, then I need to change it. I need to fix it. I need to resolve it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And the first one that I'd like to talk about today is the dysfunctional behavior of feeling the need to control everything. Now, I can speak with a lot of credibility about this because I was a control freak. Have you ever heard that term, control freak? Wow, I had to have my fingers in all the pies. I had to know what was going on every single minute of the day. I controlled the way that I dressed, the way that I conducted myself. But it really, that wasn't so harmful as much as it was when I tried to control other people. And how I know that I did that was because when other people wouldn't do what I wanted, then I took it personally and made it all about me. So it was very important for me to get other people on board and online and in the herd, if you will, the way that I wanted them to be there on my terms. And it's okay to have standards of excellence and have boundaries. Those are all good things. But it wasn't that way with me. I It came from, I believe, a lot of areas, what I chose to do for a living. I chose to be a school teacher. So what bigger, better control position can you have than that? I'm in charge of all these little people that you could actually control. And it was so disheartening. When I finished my teaching career after 15 years, I had 195 sick days accumulated that I never took, that I could have, because I went into work when maybe I shouldn't have gone with a cold or the flu but you know what the real story about that was? I didn't know this at the time. I didn't want anybody else in my classroom. I didn't want anybody else in there messing things up. I didn't want anybody up because I thought, well, you've heard the saying, my way or the highway. And oftentimes a lack of self-care, there's another dysfunctional behavior. I didn't go in I didn't go in unless, or I mean, I didn't call in sick unless I was like near death's door. And I had a little discussion about this morning, and we didn't get paid back in the day for those sick days that you didn't use up. But that's how controlling I was. I wasn't going to let anybody else, and nobody could do it like I could. I was the kind of person who would hire a housekeeper, but clean the house up before the housekeeper got there. Now, how crazy is that? That was all about control. And maybe that explains why I've been married 3 times, because of that dysfunctional need to control. But I learned that. I learned that from my family, uh, my colleagues. Here's another form of control. Getting back to the school teaching days, because there's a lot of control there. And we had a teacher in our school that if she created, like this time of year, we'd all be creating nice fall billboards and the colored leaves, and we take the kids out and we do our bulletin boards. And there was one of our teachers, every time she created a new board, she put a sheet over it so that none of the rest of us would copy that. How's that for control? Wow. So control ruins a lot of relationships. I see that when I work with couples. I can see where one is more overbearing than the other. There's no balance there. It's, one or the other decides to take the control road. And so control shows up in many, many ways. And especially when we are looking after children, they're a little easier to control sometimes. So we can be very good at that. But oh boy, it was deadly, especially when I was trying to get a business off the ground and do it my way. And yes, I do insist that things be done my way sometimes, because if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, well, we fix it, we change it, we monitor it. Okay. Now I noticed, see, even today, I'm here talking by myself and I'm sharing some things that I've experienced. And I see where the number of people watching is fluctuating up and down because and initially when I started broadcasting, if that was happening, I'd be all upset if somebody left or somebody didn't make a comment or I would take that personally. See, and if you take things personally into heart, that's really a form of control. I can't control who's going to listen and who isn't going to listen. And you can mark it till the cows come home, but it just depends on what people are busy doing at this particular time of the day. But boy, there was a time that would just like bother me. That's what I would focus on. And I chalked it up to being ambitious. I justified it by wanting to be the best, and that it was okay to go after that brass ring. And it's okay to do all those things, but to use control to get there, it's really devastating. and it's destructive, and it chews up energy and time. And when people are trying to control me now, I pick up on it so quickly and so easily because I was there. So when people are trying to manipulate me or control me, or it's like another simple example would be when you're deciding on a time to meet somebody or to go for supper, or and the other person, if I say, well, I'm available from, here to here, I'm open, I'm flexible, and no, well, no, whatever time you'd like, and I say, okay, let's meet at 3 o'clock, and then they come back and go, well, you know what, 3:30 would really be better. It's those kinds of nitpicky little things that you can get into that are reflective of somebody who's trying to control you or a situation, whatever that is. And being in charge of your life is a good thing, but we can't always be in control of our lives. Life is always shooting out those boomerangs, those curveballs, those whatever you want to call it. And I never used to be able to roll with that. I used to be if things didn't go my way, then I got very agitated and sometimes angry. And then I would say things I didn't really mean. And oh my gosh, it was so freeing when I surrendered all that. It is so freeing when and am I there yet? Am I totally out of there? No, because I have a lot of responsibility and there's lots of things that I need to stay in charge of. But to control how other people are feeling, have you been told? You shouldn't be angry. You shouldn't feel that way. You should be okay. Just get over it, blah, 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 without people realizing that you're not in a position to judge where they are in terms of their feelings. And I used to be that way. I'd say, well, you shouldn't be upset about that. That's just a little thing. Well, that's an assumption. And that's another one on my list, which I'll go right into, because assuming things about other people is dysfunctional as well. So control is a dysfunctional behavior, and it takes a lot of energy. And then that comes from making assumptions. We all know the old saying, assume makes an ass out of you and me, when you spell the word assume. So we cannot assume things about people. And it comes up a lot in business conversations because we're talking about products, taking products to market, coming up with price points. And we cannot make an assumption like, well, nobody's going to be able to afford that. Well, that's not true. That's an assumption. Or your husband is late getting home from work and you're sitting on the couch fretting and you're assuming that he might be out with another woman. That's dysfunctional. Until you have the facts, you don't know. But people monitor a lot of their decisions based on what they think or assume about another person. So, other examples of assumption, assuming that we have lots of assumptions about ourselves. This just came up because we just finished a writer's retreat on the weekend. And how many of you out there have already assumed that you could never write a book or that somebody else can't write a book? That's an assumption. Or assuming that it's your own narrative. Assumption is about your own narrative based on what you think is real. And so that's not very functional. We can't assume anything. I had a client say to me one time, I said to her, we've done a lot of work together, and I become friends with my clients because, hey, they share things with me that they may never have shared with another person. We have to stay friends because they know too much. They know too much about me. I know too much about them. And I'm not vindictive, so I never use that information to hurt people. I never. I mean, I took big, harsh falls because I would maintain the credibility of my clients, or rather the confidentiality. So I had this one client and I said, we'd make great friends. And she said, what? I said, yeah, we should, let's just be friends. And she said, well, why would you want to be my friend? She had already made the assumption that I wouldn't want to be her friend. So, how many people have we blown off, cut off, because we've assumed something that was absolutely not true? The only way we can get to the truth is to ask the question, would you be my friend? And she said, why would you want me for a friend? And why would Laurie Davis have me for a friend? I just kind of thought that was dysfunctional. So don't assume anything. When I first moved to the West, and this is a good story about assumption, I came from the East Coast, totally different culture than the West Coast. The way we talk, the way we conduct ourselves, everything was different. I actually went into a bit of a culture shock, but I'm over it. And I'm happy to say I'm over it. So anyway, I had the privilege of meeting a very wealthy man for lunch when I first came out here, a businessman, and he wanted to talk to me about what I did. And he said to me, you're from the East Coast? And I said, yes. And he said, well, things are very different here in the West. I said, okay. I was thinking, what's he talking about? He said, now, when you go into a bank here in the West and you're in the lineup and there's a man in front of you and he probably smells, he probably is wearing dirty coveralls, he has a pair of work boots on, he's probably hasn't had a haircut in a long time, maybe a ball cap on. Chances are he's probably got the biggest bankroll in that bank, because in the West, you cannot assume anything about anyone because of their chosen careers. Now, he said, if you were in the bank on the East Coast, and unless the guy has wearing a three-piece suit and a pair of tasseled loafers, that's who you think has the money. We make assumptions based on that external appearance, which is important to have a good appearance. I enjoy that, but it's not to impress anyone. It's just for me to feel I love who I am and what I like to wear. So assumption. Yeah, he said, that's probably the richest guy in the bank. So don't assume anything around here, because this is oil and ranch country here, and people came here from all over the world and made lots of money and make lots of money. So what have you been assuming lately about another person? Yeah, we don't know. And as we were sharing in our writers retreat this weekend, if you haven't walked in my moccasins, and this is what I was thinking, if you have not walked in my moccasins, you have no idea about maybe how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. It's kind of like we were talking about losing loved ones, because in our stories, many of us have had lots of sadness around losing our loved ones. And let's say we all lost our moms. Well, how we process that, how we grieve that, how we deal with that is different for every single person, because our relationship with our mom, my relationship with my mom, may be totally different than someone else's relationship they had with their mom, which then changes how they grieve and how they. So you can't ever say to somebody, I know how you feel. That is probably one of the most arrogant things we could say to another person. You're making an assumption that you know how that person feels, and you don't. Because we may have lost someone, but it may not be the same way or the same reasons or whatever. And so we might be able to understand it intellectually, but we don't really know the emotions around it. So if you've never been divorced, you don't really know how that feels, right? I had assumptions made about me when I was young. All of my girlfriends were busy having their babies, married, and having their children. And at the time, I didn't know it, that I couldn't conceive and have a baby. I thought I could, but it never happened. And so I had my girlfriends say things like, you guys, you're not having any kids yet. Like, you're so selfish. How self-serving is that? You're more interested in your career, having a big house, driving 3 cars, whatever, whatever, whatever. And that hurt me so much because if I could have, I would have had a dozen kids. I love kids. I think they're amazing. And kids speak to me and I speak to them. So you can't assume anything. They assumed that we had made that decision based on that we would prefer the lifestyle because children would ruin the lifestyle. I just found that to be so harsh. Yeah, you're so selfish because you're not having any babies yet. Like, wow. So watch out for that. Watch out for that. Do not let others assume anything about you, and you do not assume anything about somebody else. And that's why when I first meet people, I give them the opportunity to be trusted. They don't have to prove that to me. I just automatically trust. And then if you show me that you cannot be trusted, then at least 1 or 2 times, then I decide whether or not the relationship will continue. And I'm the last person in the world that should trust anybody after all the things that have happened to me. So that's another workshop. Trust is huge, right? So not to trust is the dysfunctional part. Trusting is very natural for us. Look at little children. They just naturally trust. Is it a good thing sometimes? No. Sometimes we trust the wrong people, but we find out. But that shouldn't change our ability to trust ourselves. But that's another whole workshop that I would like to do sometime and have a group of people talk about that because it's huge. 99.9% of my clients that I meet have trust issues right off the top. And we have to continue to prove to others that we can be trusted. But that's not about us. That's about their inability to trust. And that's dysfunctional. We need to know how to do that. All right. So right up there with assumption, the next one I'd like to talk about is procrastination. Isn't that a beautiful word? Procrastination. I can hardly spell it, but I know what it means because I've done plenty of it. Procrastination used to be my best friend. I didn't have to do it now. I can do it tomorrow. I can put that off until next week. So procrastination is making excuses for not being productive. Someday, somehow, when the kids are grown, when I graduate from high school, when I get my degree, when I win the lottery, when. That's procrastination. I had a friend. She was the worst in the world. And one day she got all excited, and I share this story with my clients. One day she was all excited. She had bought this book. Isn't it great how books can be solutions for us? So I said, "You bought a book? What is it about?" She said, "It's about how not to procrastinate." I said, "That is a good book for you, my girl." I said, "So what's the most important thing you learned from that?" I said, "First of all, when did you get the book? You're just telling me now." Oh, she said, "I've had the book for about 6 months." I said, "And you're just telling me now?" Procrastination. I said, "So what did you learn?" "Well, I haven't read it yet." Seriously? I said, "What? You haven't read it yet? Are you kidding me?" I said, "Where is it?" "Under the bed." Under the bed? She was procrastinating about reading a book to help you to stop procrastinating. And that's a true story. I see someone has made a comment. I wonder who this is. Oh, my beautiful friend. Sylvia, our mentor, our writing guru. Trust is like the sunshine, natural and warm. Mhm. Yes, absolutely. And I think we should do a show just on trust. It deserves that. And people need to understand how trust works. So procrastination, and that comes up in the writers' retreats all the time because we're talking about, I've been thinking about writing a book for 20 years. Or I've been working on a book for 10 years. Well, the reason it's not done, and I'm the master, I should be talking to myself right now because it's the procrastination that is the reason why it's not out there. I don't procrastinate on other things, but I have on that of late. So, what have you been procrastinating about lately? What are you putting off because you don't want to deal with the outcomes, or you're fearful, or you're scared? And when we have fear, we do a lot of crazy things. So, fear is actually a dysfunctional behavior as well. And I'll talk about that. But procrastination prevents us from moving in the right directions for the right reasons. And we can come up with the best excuses in the whole world. Oh my gosh. And here's the deal, guys and gals. The brighter you are, the smarter you are, the more articulate you are, the better you are at coming up with the justification and the excuses and the reasons why not. We can talk ourselves in and out of anything. So here are some here's some language that's connected to procrastination. I'll do it later. So I make a promise to myself, I'm going to do that later. I can't think about that right now. I've said that. I can't do this right now. I don't have the time right now. It would take too much time away from my work if I did that. I can't go out with the girls tonight because I need to work. Yes, that's a good idea, but I'll do it probably in 2029. Now, now that I'm older, and somebody says, "Well, maybe I could give you a call in 6 months, and we could do some business, or we could take a workshop or whatever." I always come back with, "Well, we better do it right now because I'm getting up there and I might not be here in 6 months." I'm not wishing that or intending that, and it's probably not the truth, really. But people tend to waste time. I have too many other things to do. Oh, I think I'll think about it tomorrow. I don't really feel like baking that cake today. I think I'll do it tomorrow. As soon as I get back from this trip, I'm going to go full tilt. It's too late. It's too soon. How many times have we used that excuse? And I love this one. We've been invited, let's say, to a party or a special event, and then it gets close to it. And maybe I'm a little tired from working too much or whatever. And I decide, I don't think I'm going to bother going. And you know why we can get away with that? Because we say the following. They'll never miss me. There's going to be a big crowd there. How are they going to know that I'm there or not? And I don't have anything really important to say. So guess what? I don't need to bother going. That's procrastination. Procrastination. And the other reasons we procrastinate is we're afraid that it might not work out. Failure. We have these fears, failure, rejection. And we make up all kinds of stuff rooted in fear. So things like, and I'm reading them here, I'm not ready yet. I might fail. What would the neighbors think? Well, in my generation, we were all about that. I remember one time I wanted to date a guy. He wanted to take me to the school dance, and he had a motorcycle. And I was sharing that with my mom. And she said, no, you're not getting on the back of somebody's motorcycle. What would the neighbors think of that? I don't know. I was 16 and this was a really hot guy and I just wanted to go to the dance. I didn't stop to think about what would the neighbors think. So that was a program, if you will, a tape. I might get hurt. It might cost me some money. No, I'm not. And that happened to me too. The very first time that I went to a Mary Kay cosmetic skincare gathering, I went and I didn't take my checkbook. Back in the day, we wrote checks for everything. And I thought, I'm not taking any money there. I might have to buy something. I procrastinated. And when I got there and had the experience, I wanted everything they put on my face. I had to go back home and get my checkbook. And then I decided that I could do that. I was a teacher. I could teach people stuff, and I could teach this, and this would be such fun. Never dreaming it would turn into a really successful career. 4 pink cars later. Oh my, it might cost me money. I've been there. I would rather die first than show up. Uh, I'd rather get a divorce before I'd ever do that. I don't want anyone to know I have a problem. So I just don't go there. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. I've had lots of clients say to me, I just don't want to go there. And I said, well, if you don't go there, you're never going to heal that terrible, hurtful thing that happened to you. And it's always going to be that bump under the rug or that bump in the road. You know, those road bumps that slow you down. You become a road bump. Oh, I'm afraid to express my feelings. Oh boy, did I get over that one. I don't want to talk about it. Who knows where I might end up? Well, we never know where we're going to end up. I've been in this location for 2 years past June. I never planned on leaving my beautiful acreage on the lake, blah, blah, blah. I didn't plan that. But decisions had to be made. And so here I am. I'm really glad I didn't procrastinate on that. I did for a while. I knew inside that I needed to make some moves, but I wasn't ready. So I didn't. And then things just went downhill from there. I may lose my freedom. Oh, I'm not going to go out with that guy. Oh, gee, what if he really likes me and I love my life the way it is and I don't want to mess that up? That just happened this morning with a friend of mine, so I hope she's listening. It's too hard. I don't understand. Oh, trust me. We're in the beginnings now of offering a beautiful 100 workshops in finance, and we did our first workshop last week, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. This is really overwhelming because it's a whole area that I know nothing about. Trading, investing, playing the stock market, all the things that I dreamed about doing. And now I have somebody in my life who can actually teach me how to do that. But it's going to be hard for me to wrap my head around those charts and but I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm going to do all 100 workshops. And this time next year, I'm handling my own portfolio. I'll know how to trade. I'll know how to invest better. Get it? But it's hard. And it's hard to make changes, and it's hard to make those big decisions. I don't have enough money right now. I can't do that. Wow, if I'd ever let the money get in the way, I'd never done anything. It wouldn't be perfect. Another reason to procrastinate. A lot of people, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not doing it at all. Wow, that was me. I don't trust anyone. It might hurt my image. I'm not good enough for that. You get a big opportunity presented to you and you go, no, not me. I did that. I did that in 1984. I was between careers and I was offered a position to work 4 days a month. 1984. Now listen up. This was big. I procrastinated on this, and then I didn't procrastinate. I just gave the wrong answer. So a friend of mine said, Laurie, there's a guy coming over from Germany. He's developed some technology for all fish plants. And of course, from the East Coast, there's lots of fish plants. But his English is really impaired, heavy accent, and he would like to have somebody who's articulate to do the presentations. I went, okay. I'll have dinner with him next time he's in town. So the three of us got together and I had dinner. He was in his 60s at the time and I was in my 30s, and I thought, okay, what's the deal? And he said, well, he would pay me $150,000 a year. That was big money in 1984. That's 40 years ago. A Mercedes of my choice, all paid for. And wherever I wanted to live, whether I wanted a condominium on the south end of Halifax or I wanted a house on the ocean, whatever I wanted for living accommodations, he would pay. So I went home and I thought about it and I procrastinated and I came up with the greatest reason not to take on the position. Are you ready for this? I when I think back to this, I can't hardly believe myself. Like what Laurie would be doing this. So, and I would have only had to travel with him, 4 days a month and whatever when he would come over from Germany because he was the owner of the business and he would be signing off on things. And anyway, I said no. And my friend, my male friend who had introduced me to him said, "What are you doing, girlfriend? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, you know what's going to happen? He's probably going to want to sleep with me at some point. And that's just not in my moral fiber. So I guess I won't be accepting the job." And he looked at me and he said, "He's not interested in you. He's married. He has grandchildren. He's a family man. That is that's a figment of your own imagination." And see, I was making assumptions and I allowed that to deprive me of that amazing opportunity. And that was that little victim inside of me who had been sexually assaulted when she was 12. And my little girl made the business decision not to take that job. That was so dysfunctional, wasn't it? Wouldn't you agree? Like, who does that? Okay, well, Sylvia's put something up. Okay, let's read what she says. Whatever you want to do, respect yourself and do it. We have to put one foot in front of the other and walk into the life of your dreams. You must move to go forward. No one is promised tomorrow. Just love yourself and do it. So now when I'm offered an opportunity, and I get lots of offers because of my age and experience and all this kind of stuff, if somebody wants me to speak or run a workshop for them or help them with their staffing or whatever it is, I say yes. I would be honored. Now, what I should have done in 1984 was go to this guy, have a second dinner, wipe out all my fear, and say, I'm in. I'm honored to help you get that message out there. No, 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 no. I still am I'm mad at myself for that one. And we've all done things that we regret, and hindsight's 2020, but I didn't realize there was no connection for me at that time to recognize that was being dysfunctional. I thought I was like all that in a bag of chips, and I wasn't. And it cost me a lot. It cost me my marriage, and it cost me two marriages actually, and it cost me friends, family members, um, losses, properties. It cost me so much. And this is why now I'm passionate about spreading the message of dysfunction, because it's not something we talk about. It's not something we want to even recognize that maybe that wasn't very bright. That's where we go with it. We say it was not a smart decision because we use our intellect to solve a lot of problems, but it's not really about the intellect. It's about the feelings in there that have been trapped or suppressed, and I've never had a chance to really work on that part of me. So procrastination, assumptions, and control are what we've discussed so far. And so really happy to have some viewers today and learning more about dysfunction, because let's face it, if I don't acknowledge it, I can't change it. So if I, I'm let's say I'm a porn addict, all right? If I don't acknowledge that it's an addiction and it's a challenge and every waking minute I want to be on a porn site and that leads to a lot of other problems, by the way. But if I don't acknowledge that that's the situation, I can't move on changing it. If I think it's okay or it's normal or I justify it, or I'm not saying that a little porn is a bad thing now and again, but I'm talking about I wake up in the morning and I'm on the network and I can find it anywhere now. And it's midnight and I still haven't moved and haven't eaten and I haven't slept and I haven't, right? No different than being a gambler or having alcohol and drugs in our life. Really? Hmm. All right, let's pick another one. Oh, here's a good one. Limiting belief system. Thinking that we cannot do things. And I'm going to put Sylvia's comment back up because it's relevant. Whatever you want to do, respect yourself and do it. We have to put one foot in front of the other and walk into the life of our dreams. I'd like to comment on that too. You must move, go forward. No one else is promised tomorrow, and love yourself. Some people are so dysfunctional, they don't even have a dream. They couldn't dream something up if it hit them on the forehead like a 2x4. Forgetting how to dream. Children dream all the time of what they're going to be when they grow up. And I've often said, my friend Sylvia, who's here visiting me again, I said, I want to grow up and be just like her when I'm her age. We need to get that back. And I think COVID did a lot of damage when we couldn't get out, we couldn't have people in, we couldn't make the connections, and our lives were completely turned upside down in a matter of days. And so we can forget how to dream. And as old as I am, I've got a lot of miles on me yet, I say. And I'm continuing to dream about what I would like to do, what I'd like to have, where I want to go. And I've always been a dreamer. That's why I've chosen to be an entrepreneur instead of somebody's employee. That would be hard for me, but depending on the situation. My husband used to tease me and I'd say, why don't I just go to the grocery store and I'm just going to get a job under the radar, come home, put my feet up, watch television. I could check out groceries. I did that when I was in high school. And he looked at me and he said, who are you kidding? You'd only be in that store a day. And the whole thing would be shifted around and you'd be putting people in different positions and you'd be changing the way they've got things. No, 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 no. It wouldn't be just about going there, being a cashier. So he said, if you're going to do that for somebody else, you just stay home and do that for us. And I said, okay. I get it. So we also have people in our lives who become dream busters. That's a dysfunctional behavior. And they'll say things like, well, you're going to do what? And what makes you think you could pull that off? What makes you think you could do that? You better come down. Let me bring you down a peg or two, girl. You grew up in a fishing village. That wasn't my situation, but, we're just farmers. Well, farmers are some of the smartest people I know. You see? So dream busters. Do you have any dream busters in your life? That's why I don't tell people things that I'm going to do until I do it. First I do it, then I can tell you about it. Because if I tell you about what I want to do, you'll probably talk me out of it or try to talk me out of it because you're uncomfortable or it sets you apart from where you think it is that I might be going. And I've always said that people who are with you, your tribe, when you have a tribe, and somebody chooses to leave the tribe, it's because they're not going to be able to handle your future. And that used to hurt me so much when people would leave or they would find fault with me or they think I'm not worthy anymore. of their time or their energy. And I had to learn that it was okay. But see, that controlling behavior that I had caused me the grief more than the person. So when people leave, one of my colleagues used to say to me one time, Laurie, you're always being looked after. Isn't that something? That you're always being looked after. And we are. We just have to acknowledge that. But a lot of times the dysfunctional behavior gets in the way because we might have this limiting belief that I don't deserve to be looked after or supported or loved or cared for. And if we have that limiting belief, chances are you don't have that. Not even chances, I can guarantee you don't have that. So, what are some limiting beliefs that we can hold about ourselves? Well, let me share a few. We have ideas about ourselves, and we can say things like, well, I just mentioned this. Well, my family, no one in my family's educated, so why, what makes me think I could be? That's a limiting belief. And I'm so proud of myself for not having believed that teacher who told me in high school, based on my marks, I would never amount to anything. I'm sure glad I didn't buy into that BS. Oh, but you see, another student who had already embraced a lot of limiting beliefs about themselves, when a person in a position of authority would share that, they would buy in. And that might be the kid that would go home and take their life that day because you just confirmed what they've already been believing, that they're not worthy or they're no good or they're just a burden, they're a problem, right? How about this one? Uh, I love this one. I can't go there. It's too far to drive. Whoa, I've driven across Canada 20 times, and Canada is a big country. And I have had the privilege of driving across this magnificent country 20 times. And I have people who say, oh my gosh, I'd never drive across Canada when I could get a plane and be across Canada in 5 or 6 hours. Yes, but you don't see the wheat blowing in the wind, and you don't see that animal come up to the side of the road, and you don't get to drive around those beautiful Great Lakes that are just like oceans. Do you know it takes 3 days to get out of Ontario, the province of Ontario? When you're driving, you go into Ontario and you won't be out of there till the 3rd day of driving. That's given that you take the nights off, right? That you drive your 8 hours a day or whatever. It's too expensive. I hear that all the time from people. It's too expensive. I can't afford that. That's a limiting belief. That's dysfunctional because sometimes we don't even need money. Lots of times people have presented me with things that I needed and I didn't even have to have the money to do it. It would take too long. Oh, I'd like to write a book, but gee whiz, that would take forever. These are limiting beliefs, totally dysfunctional. Oh, I don't believe in that. Well, you might believe in it tomorrow. I'm just not that kind of person. This is me. Oh, I hear so many people say, this is me. This is who I am. But they're cringing inside. They're dying inside. They're crying inside. But this is me. I've never been completely satisfied with this is me. This is me today. This is me right now on the show. And outside of that, I can't tell you what I will face when I get off the show and have to change who I am to move forward. People don't get that at all. We work in that all the time. And then, I don't know. I don't know if God would approve of that. Oh, you're going to use God now. I don't think God appreciates that. I'm going to have to pray about it to see what's the right thing to do. God is already telling you what the right thing is to do because that opportunity is knocking on the door. Who brought you the opportunity? If you have any spirituality about us at all, those great ideas and so on don't come from us. They get dropped in there from the universe, from God, from whomever. I'm waiting for the stars to say it's okay. Are the stars lined up? And I'm highly intuitive, and I get that. I understand all that. But we can use anything. My doctor doesn't want me to do that. Mhm. Who knows your body better than you? I can't get time off work. I don't want to be under their influence. It's all their fault. Oh, there's another one we're going to talk about, not today because we won't have time, but blaming others is a dysfunctional behavior. Well, if they want me to do that, they're going to have to change first, right? They don't understand. Nobody understands me. Nobody gets me. I used to say that. I thought everybody had to get me in order for me to move forward. What a lie. I lied to myself. That's another dysfunctional behavior, lying. We already talked about that. But I used to use that mantra. Oh, you know what? They don't get me. They don't have to get me. As long as I get me, that's what matters. I don't want to hurt other people's feelings. That is a limiting belief because guess what? Back to number one, you're not in control of how other people get to feel. Sorry. Right? Oh, I can't go there. It's against my upbringing. It's against my religion. It's against my philosophies. Well, maybe we need to change some of those things so that we can have a life that we can be the best version of ourselves, be that person that we long for. And then you have things like your self-concepts. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too fat. I'm too thin. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I'm too lazy. I'm too weak. I'm too smart. I'm too worthless. I'm too serious. None of these support us. Okay. And I might be 74 on the outside, but inside, I think like I did when I was in my 20s, when I was 18, and I was going to go out there and conquer the world and do it my way and do my thing, which I have ended up doing. It's terrific. And then we might say, well, we throw in the towel and we say, it's all too much. Can't handle it. And we throw in the towel. I could have thrown the towel in the last 32 years. I could have thrown the towel in at least 100 times. I'm sure happy that I didn't because I just kept on moving one step at a time, one workshop at a time, one broadcast at a time, one dinner party at a time, only ever looking at it that way. And then eventually all those little pieces keep building to the bigger picture. So I sure hope you enjoyed my monologue today, talking about another few shades of dysfunction. Working on my book, proud to say, I have my next 5 chapters outlined. Ha, Sylvia, you didn't know that. In my head. So we have to put it on paper, but I've got the next 5 that we're going to do. I just shared them. And that's my outline. And isn't that great? We can just integrate everything that we do. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, the dysfunction has to go because it's holding us up from being the best version of ourselves, having the best family life ever, having money in the bank, having fun, traveling, doing all the things that we really, really want to do. The thing that's holding us up, 2 things. 1, the low self-worth, which then leads to all this dysfunctional behavior. So tomorrow, excited about tomorrow. My superstar, Ramin Modiri, will be here. On Tuesdays, we discuss finance. And he's already given me a heads up that tomorrow he is going to share the best places in the world to retire. Oh, I can't wait to hear. And I'm thinking Alberta, Canada is not going to be one of them. I'm thinking that. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Thank you for listening and watching. We've been streaming live right now on the Laurie Davis YouTube channel, E360 TV, and also on our Facebook page, Self-Worth the Missing Link. Superstars! All right. Have a terrific rest of the week. See you tomorrow, same time, same station. Bye for now.